Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me again tonight. I was actually going to talk about dry eczema as promised last week, but actually I think it's probably a bit more prevalent to talk about viruses because it's in the paper all the time at the moment about the coronavirus. And there's nothing worse if you're feeling fearful, and powerless. Your health is in your hands, and your immune system can actually be strengthened by the daily practices that you do. So I thought it'd be good to discuss some of the things that you can do to keep your immune system nice and strong. So if you live with someone that's immunocompromised, then you can help them by keeping yourself strong because their immune system isn't able to fight anything off. So you don't really want to introduce anything to them. So viruses travel in the air by their very nature, and it's actually quite difficult to avoid them, especially if you've got children that go to school, maybe if you work in a hospital, or maybe you've got to take the train to work every day. They enter via your mouth, nose, eyes, via the mucous membranes, which is why, in the papers you're seeing the Chinese, they're covering their nose and their mouth. It's very sensible. It makes a lot of sense. So how can you strengthen your immune system and protect against other flu viruses? Well, coconut oil, believe it or not, contains medium chain triglycerides. And these things are really antifungal, they're antiviral, and they're generally antibiotic in nature, all of which can promote healing and help prevent secondary infections, especially in wounds caused by viral infections. Another one is raw garlic. So I've spoken before about making up your own super tonic where you use equal parts and you blitz raw garlic, raw onion, raw ginger, raw horseradish, and raw chilies. And then you cover that with apple cider vinegar. So there's 6 ingredients there. And you steep that for a couple of weeks before straining it out and keeping the liquid. Now, you can use it fresh if it's an emergency, but raw garlic contains the compound allicin, and it's incredibly antiviral. It's also quite antisocial, but nothing is going to grow in the presence of garlic. So our family are drinking super tonic all the time at the moment because I haven't got time to come down with anything. You can also buy a product called Allicin Max, and that is that key compound which has been encapsulated. So we can post some out to you if you want that. Medicinal mushrooms are another really good antiviral, and these are packed with something called beta-glucan. And beta-glucan is immune boosting, but they actually strengthen the body's systems in general. So beta-glucans and medicinal mushrooms support the adrenal glands, because of course you get ill if you get run down. So you can use these medicinal mushrooms to support your adrenals, which is your underlying energy, your blood sugar, so your energy stays more stable, and your digestion. The medicinal mushroom lion's mane, for example, is particularly good for people that have gastric ulcers, good for celiac, ulcerative colitis, etc. Now, we make our own beautiful medicinal mushroom blend that we call Mushroom Magic Capsules. And we combine 4 of these medicinal mushrooms in easy to take capsules so that you can take them each day. And, they're like a food source, really. Immune boosting herbs are really good as well. So elderberry, thyme, echinacea, these are all things that you've probably heard of. Like fresh thyme, for example, just add boiling water and drink it. We actually make this delicious tincture called Snuffle Ease. It's immune boosting, but it protects these delicate mucous membranes that I was talking about. So in Snuffle Ease, there's elderberry, which children just love. And of course, that's packed with vitamin C as well. There's licorice and marshmallow, which protect the mucous membranes. What else is in there? There's wild cherry, which helps to thin the mucus, and Schisandra berry, which boosts the immune system as well. So because it's really rich in vitamin C, it does help to protect the body from most viruses. It works really well. So remember that antibiotics, for example, aren't effective against viruses. So the best thing to do is to boost your immune system and help support your body. One of the ways that you can do that is by sweating it out. So encourage perspiration. Our skin is the most amazing detoxification organ. And it's sad, but we end up covering it with creams, clothes, sprays. We strip the natural oils by bathing every single day. But aim to use a sauna or steam maybe once or twice a week. And in fact, Epsom salts are another great alternative. So another top tip would be sunshine. We absolutely need a good dose of sunshine to boost our vitamin D levels. But seeing as we're in this grey, cloudy, rainy, cold, and any other miserable adjective Manchester, vitamin D is probably required as a supplement. So this is one that doctors generally don't test, but I would suggest that you get yourself tested for vitamin D and find the actual number rather than being told it's adequate. So we want the level at around 120 nanomoles per litre. When I had mine tested last month, I was surprised that it had got as low as 47, and I'd only paused on supplementation for a few months. And the doctor actually telephoned me to say, start on 1,000 IUs every day and do that for life. I didn't really have the confidence to say to him, 1,000 IUs is not even going to cut it. It wouldn't even touch it. We need much, much higher doses to get above that threshold to really boost the immune system. And then you can start to taper down on it. So I won't go through doses because it is quite individualized, but do contact me if your levels are low. Another thing we need for the immune system is sleep. Sleep is when your body repairs. And if you're up on your phone till midnight, your body isn't healing. The old wives' tale of the hours before midnight are worth double. I actually think it's true because that's when the body does a lot of its repair and its healing. And we find that people actually sleep really deeply in those first few hours. And this natural circadian rhythm means that you sleep much lighter after, say, 3, 4 a.m. And you may find that as well. That happens with you, that you wake up at that time and then can't get back to sleep, or your natural circadian rhythm is disturbed there. So especially if you're feeling under the weather, take a nap. Let your immune system do its thing. Listen to your body. And if you're feeling really tired and exhausted, try and sleep. I know that's not always possible when we work, but it is possible to take a few minutes to sit down and recharge, perhaps have some herbal tea. We have this beautiful immunity, we call it. It's really pleasant tasting. It's got the herbs in there that help to sweat it out, and it boosts the immune system, and it tastes great as well. So what about hand washing? I see people, it's so gross. I see people coming out of the toilet and not washing their hands. Me and my daughter look at each other and go, ew. Because it is really horrible. I mean, this is how you pass things on. Hand washing is vital because viruses have an affinity for the nose and the mouth and the eyes. So wash your hands actually before you need to touch any part of your face or whatever. And then think about what happens if you do get a virus. And if you are feeling under the weather, here are some tips for that. Sip bone broth. Now, bone broth is made when you get something like a marrow bone, stick it in some water, and basically leave it in the slow cooker all night. And it's extracting some key amino acids like glycine and glutamine, which actually help the body to heal. So you could use a chicken carcass. They say chicken soup for the soul, and it is really good for the immune system. But if you're a vegetarian, then place a load of veggies or veggie peelings and perhaps make a nice vegetable broth. So bone broth is great because you can put it in a flask and just sip it throughout the day. There's something really comforting about it. Steam inhalation is another one. If you're feeling all clogged, like you generally do with a virus, and you don't feel great, then get a nice big bowl of steamy water and add some essential oils to that. So maybe only 3 or 4 drops, otherwise it can actually sting your eyes. But it can really bring relief to that kind of pressure headache that you get if your sinuses are all clogged. It can help to open up your airways. So things like eucalyptus, oregano, sage, peppermint, ravensara, frankincense, anything like that. They're naturally antiviral, but apart from that, they open the airways. That's the main things that they do. But essential oils are small enough to be able to pass through and diffuse through the capillaries. So they then have a systemic action on the body as well. Beta carotene is another really good one if you're not feeling very well. So it's necessary for immune function and it can be useful to treat viruses. So beta carotene converts to vitamin A on an as needed basis. So you could get real sources of vitamin A from things like egg yolks, bone broth, as I said, or like chicken fat, cod liver oil, or even grass-fed butter. But alternatively, you could use beta carotene foods such as sweet potato, carrots, cantaloupe, spinach, butternut squash, and pumpkin. So, should you be afraid of the coronavirus and the hype? Well, I'd say if your immune system is compromised, then it may be an issue. Otherwise, there are actually quite a few cases around, and in the grand scale of things, viruses aren't particularly new, and neither is this one. So I wouldn't personally be afraid, but we should be mindful, we should be cautious, and we should be smart about how we are looking after ourselves in order to help others. So in healthy individuals with competent immune systems, typical symptoms would be a fever, a cough, maybe difficulty breathing. And in severe cases, then that's when it can lead to things like pneumonia, respiratory diseases, kidney failure, and obviously we're reading about some deaths as well. But the people who have died in other countries, they did have existing underlying conditions that actually compromised their health. So what I would suggest then is to do what you can do. Try to follow the recommendations that I've said. I do find that they work really well, and they can, as well as strengthen your immune system, it means that if you do get ill, the virus is more short-lived. Try to avoid contact with sick people, and feel free to wear a mask because these are the areas that would be affected. And then frequently wash your hands if you're traveling, especially if you're taking trains or public transport or in areas with a higher risk. And if you're at home and you're poorly, then get some rest. Perhaps don't interact with other people that are elderly or pregnant or even the very young as well. So I hope this helps you and your family to stay healthy this year. I hope it takes some of the concern away about the coronavirus. Look after yourself, and if you want anything like the mushroom magic capsules, the immunity, or the snuffle ease tincture, then do get in contact or look on the shop. It's naturalpractices.co.uk. Okay, all the best. Bye.